You're listening to the Signal to Noise podcast on the ProSoundWeb podcast network. Signal to Noise is proudly supported by Audix. Check out the new TM2 integrated acoustic coupler for in-ear monitors and their new line of studio headphones and condenser mics at audixusa.com. Alan and Heath has asked us to read the following statement. Warning, listening to the Signal to Noise podcast on an empty stomach can cause ringing in the ears. Or maybe you just need a taco and the volume is set too high on your iPhone. Either way, we think it is worth the risk to listen in, and we are proud to support Michael and Chris, and maybe even Kyle sometimes. Welcome back to the Signal to Noise podcast on ProSoundWeb. I'm Michael Lawrence. As always, I'm joined by Chris Leonard, Kyle Chirnside. What's going on, fellas?
How's it going?
What's happening? Welcome back.
Welcome back to you as well, Kyle.
You know what? We're almost to episode 100. We need to start thinking. We need to start
close.
putting the nose to the grindstone and start thinking. And maybe people need to send in some ideas.
I want you to sing.
We still
talk
haven't
to my
heard
manager, Jeff Hawley.
we still haven't heard a track off your record yet. Just saying, you know.
That's
Maybe
true.
We could do that on 100.
There you go.
There you go.
I've been busy, man. We haven't been promoting. It's just podcast life.
It's there's a lot of plates in the air, and I'm really excited about this week's episode. And I'll introduce our guests in just a second, but we brought on sort of a special guest host to come back and enjoy some dialogue with us this week.
Thanks, Kyle, for coming back. I appreciate it.
Kyle.
I made it.
Previous guest of the Signal to Noise podcast and my colleague at Rational Acoustics, Mr. Chris Tengeris. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
It's good to see you, man. I know that I just saw you like all day today, but good to see you again.
All good.
I asked Chris to join us on the episode tonight because, like our guest, Chris straddles that line between being a professional audio engineer and being a professional guitar player. And we like to talk a lot about the relationship between artists and musicians on this show. I'm really excited about this week's guest, who I reached out to talk about some of his audio engineering work. He's a guitarist, he's a songwriter, he's a producer, he's a great mix engineer. Besides his solo work, he records and tours with Vulfpeck, with Ben Rector. I believe he netted a Grammy nomination this year. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Cory Wong.
Welcome.
Hey, Cory.
Thanks for having me.
Congrats on the Grammy nom.
Oh, thank you, man. It's my first one.
That's
Feels
really
pretty
cool.
good.
I bet.
Feels pretty good.
Did you get to do all the little Grammy Academy things for the kids and stuff this year, or did they do like how did that go down?
I haven't been aware of any of those things, so I have not done any of those yet. Last I heard, they just moved it to March. It was going to be the end of this month, but then they moved it to March, so I don't really know.
Time to prepare.
I'm just excited. Hey, I'm along for the ride, man. I'm chilling.
Well, it's awesome. So a little bit of backstory why I reached out to Cory. The artists I work with, they were transitioning to in-ear monitors. They're in their 60s. They've been on wedges for decades, and so it's a big shift for people that are used to just kind of getting the wedge in the face. And I was looking around on YouTube for examples of in-ear mix videos that they could listen to. Yeah. And because, like sort of you don't have to treat this like a wedge. I wanted to give them a couple examples of what a well-balanced in-ear mix sounds like. And I came across video on Cory's channel where he's playing lead guitar for Ben Rector on tour, and it's shot from what looks like Monitor World, and the audio of the video is Cory's in-ear mix. And first of all, I got to say, fantastic, man. It's an awesome show. The band sounds tight. It's just a lot of fun.
Insane.
Yeah, but it's a really great example of a well-balanced in-ear mix where you can actually hear things and they can cue off of it and pitch off of it, and it's not just 150 dB of guitar right down the center channel. And I sent you an email, Cory, and I said, hey man, that's a great example of a mix. I'm actually surprised at how low your guitar was in that mix. And you're like, don't worry, I got my amp behind me. It's super loud. It's great. So
yeah, well, it's not super loud. It's probably. That amp is probably about the level that you'd expect if you're sitting in a small room, like in a rehearsal. So it's not super loud, but it's enough to have a little extra, because I've used different in-ear mixes, or I've used different in-ear monitors, everything from like a 4-driver all-Claire custom mold to the Shure 535s, I think is what they're called.
Sounds right. We'll go for it.
Those though, like I like those. I don't know. I like the All Claire customs that I have, but I also am really cool with the Shure ones. They're just a little they're universal, and they like if I'm congested or if I'm singing and my jaw changes. Also, I had Invisalign, so my jaw shape changed a tiny bit. My jaw actually and my teeth obviously straightened out, but it changed a little bit of the way that my ear cavity is from when I first got the molds done. So the universals, they just like they kind of form a little more with everything. So I like those. And yes, I don't love to have myself blaring in my ears. I know other guitar players. There's just I've actually listened in. I've like been side stage with some of my friends' bands, and they've given me a pack so I can listen to my friend's in-ear mix of what he's listening to in his guitar mix, and it's just unlistenable to me as just somebody who's trying to enjoy the show. Like, dude, there is so much guitar.
Yeah.
Not to mention, not enough drums or rhythmic elements for you to really lock in tight. So for me, that's kind of the main reason. If once I'm really comfortable playing something, I just need to hear myself enough to know, because I'm going to go off the feel and I'm going to go off of how I'm hearing. I hear myself because I'm so in tune with what I'm playing because I'm actually playing it. So I need to hear everything else really well. How is everybody feeling the time tonight? Are we right on the grid? Are we right here? Are we there? Uh-oh, are we there? Let's pull it in, or are we that way? So whenever, like the video you're referring to, it to me, I always want it to sound like just a good recorded mix in my ears. Plus the click, if there is a click, a tiny bit of the audience mics, just so I can feel a little bit of the room. And then maybe a tiny bit more guitar than you would expect on the album or whatever. And that's actually where I feel really comfortable, because then I have enough of myself, but also I don't lose sight of the big picture. If I listen to too much of myself, then all of a sudden that's what I'm paying attention to. And I lose sight of the fact that, oh, no, we're in chorus 2. It's the vocal that's the important thing here, not me playing this little line or whatever.
Once you get to the performance, I mean, you're vibing with the band. You know what you're doing. It's almost muscle memory at that point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's built-in spots like that. The video you're referring to, the first 3.5, 4 songs were all scripted to a click. You hear the click because it's my in-ear mix, but it's scripted to a click, but there's things built in. Okay, there's a built-in guitar solo, do whatever you want, but it's 32 bars. Right. And this is what's happening behind it. And there's spots for things to happen and for things to breathe, but it's just following a map. We're driving down this road. I don't care what lane you're in, but just go down this road. I guess that's kind of the parameters.
How about panning? Do you care at all about how things are panned spatially, or just even to give you more depth at all? Is that something you factor in, or you just let the monitor guy do what he wants to do?
I normally do. I try to have it feel things that are stereo, hard pan left and right. I treat it the same way that I would when I'm mixing an album, where I want it to feel like, okay, the overheads are wide. I have a little kick and snare and a tiny bit of the time. I mean, my drum mix is not as good as an actual album mix because a lot of times I'm standing on a sub, like the sub is under the stage or right next to me on the side. So I'm normally relying on the bottom to just feel it because I'm in the room and there's a huge PA. But as far as the panning goes, I'll maybe say, all right, keyboard's like this, my guitar's like this, and the other guitar like this or something, so it's kind of halfway between what you would expect normally playing on stage. It's like, oh yeah, the keyboard player's over there and I'm right here behind me, but also kind of mixed with what an album is like, where you expect things to be spaced out in a way that's really clean.
You have space for all the elements, and that's part of the struggle. As soon as you get something in that mix that just has to be gigantic, you're cutting back. I mean, one of the issues that I think that the lead player in the band I'm working with, he likes to be really, really loud in his own mix, and that leads to him having no idea how he's balancing with anybody else. And so when you kick it up for the solo, he's like, "Was it too much? Was it enough?" And I'm like, "What? If you just had a more balanced tone in your ears and balanced with all the other elements, you wouldn't have to ask me that." Because when you're 12 dB above everything else, you have no idea where it's sitting.
Yeah, and then especially if your front of house engineer can anticipate what's coming, because a lot of times, okay, we're gonna do this set list. This is the show that we've built for this tour, or even if it's not that you've built a show for a tour, it's okay. When this song happens, Cory does a solo after the second chorus. What am I expecting to happen? Should I boost his level 10 dB or 3 dB? Or is it going to be fine because whatever he's going to kick on his pedal board is going to do enough? If I can have my level where it feels kind of balanced, but like bonus guitar a couple bonus guitar dB is, like I'm saying, is what I like. That way, when I kick on the gas, I know a little more also how it's feeling in the room and how it's feeling for the other players. If I all of a sudden hit 20 dB of extra, it's just going to destroy the front of house engineer. And fortunately, also, I work with really great front of house engineers who know how to diplomatically say, Cory, when you go into your solo, you're kind of crushing everything with how loud they're whatever. We have a good rapport. It's like, hey, during the verse, whatever you're doing, it doesn't cut through. Can you make that patch a little bit louder or whatever?
Right.
And sometimes that comes on show number 8. Sometimes it shows up at rehearsal number 2. Different thing. It depends on how far into the nuances we are on the band and on the mix side of things.
And your engineer Jake's going to be coming on our show in a couple weeks, by the way. Full disclosure. So, sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
How reliant have you become on your in-ear mix? Do you ever go out and do gigs and get wedges in front of you, like, oh, damn, this thing?
I'm totally fine either way. And I've just had to make sure that I've maintained that mindset, partially because I grew up doing both. Most of what I did playing in clubs, I'm just playing in wedges or just playing with the band. The rehearsal room, we're just throwing up stuff and playing. But also, I grew up playing in a church where we had wedges, and then we moved over to using an in-ear system. We had an Aviom, however you say it, system, and learned how to do that. And I know how to work in both of those. I have certain expectations. You asked about panning. Sometimes it's better just to know that there's not any panning, because then it's less things to worry about. Yeah. Because as soon as I know that I can, move my guitar over here a little bit and move the keyboard, then all of a sudden everything is fair game as far as what can be moved where. Sometimes it's better to just show up. It's like, no, you have a mono mix. Okay, drums up. A little more kick. All right, guitar up. And I'm not worrying about, can you place this here or place that there, whatever. Throw and go at festivals, whatever. Just give me something that's workable. And wedges, fine. I kind of rely on some of the autonomy of what the stage is giving, and then supplementing. I mean, I don't play with a super loud stage volume. Vulfpeck for years was just wedges up until like the last tour and a half we started using in-ears, and it mostly because of the singers to get the volume they needed. Like you do when you get into bigger venues, it's just harder to get the volume you need when there's 10,000 people screaming this way. You don't take that, you don't hear that at sound check. So when we're sound checking, it's like, oh man, it feels great. We get to the gig, turn everything up, and then it's there's all these, like, every frequency in every different place is screaming from one thing. It's like Theo's singing from the drum set. He's singing more vocal. It's like, wow, there's a lot of hi-hat in this mix. Yeah, because your lead vocal is literally right next to it. So, there's things we just learned to adjust and adapt, and we're fine on either, and I'm fine on either. But also, the person that taught me the most about this was a small interaction. I played on the Conan O'Brien show with Ben Rector, and the drummer couldn't make it. I don't remember what happened. He had something else he was committed to. But Aaron Sterling came to play drums, and Aaron's session pro, I don't know, maybe like the most busy session drummer in the world right now. Anyways, he came to play that Conan show, And he was just like, I don't know. Yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, just a little bit of this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. Very not super picky. And he was just able to make it happen, very low maintenance. And I don't remember exactly what he was talking about, but he was just kind of a good lesson in, if you feel prepared, you really know what's happening, and you're paying attention, and you hear just enough, you don't have to be super picky. So, I need Tom 1 to be, pan that one 12 to here, and then Tom 3 pan 66 to the right, and Tom 2, it's you're hearing it enough. And sometimes I find myself, when I have more options, then then it just gets more complicated. So I'm fine in either one. Wedges, mono in ear, stereo in ear. As long as I can hear something, it's fine.
I mean, I'd prefer to be forced to have to focus more on listening to the band and what they're doing.
Yeah,
than be worried
totally
about what I'm doing. I mean,
yeah.
Like you said, you're playing. To me, it's like muscle memory, especially if you're playing through songs that are rehearsed. I want to know what everyone else is doing and be able to hear them clearly. So,
yeah,
the monitor suck. I'm going to be paying way more attention to them than what I'm doing.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tough when it's like a sit-in. I've done a couple sit-ins at Red Rocks where the monitor engineer says, all right, you're going to go up, plug your pedal board in. There's a Fender Twin set up. Here's an in-ear mix. Hope it's good.
I know that guy.
Yeah. You are that guy?
I'm at the other end of the snake.
No, normally it'll be something like I'll be side stage and the band will be playing the song before, and I'll adjust a little bit. And then what I'll end up doing is just try to get a decent mix there. And whatever volume I'm going to be at, I'm going to adjust myself on my pedal board to get where I need to be and kind of anticipate where they expected my volume to be. If I'm blaring in my ears, I'm just going to turn the amp down on my end and then let the front of house engineer gain it back up if he needs to or she needs to. Because in that moment, if I need to be listening and paying attention, I don't know this song, I'm just kind of sitting and playing. I just got to, I need to make sure that I can get this thing. Gain me up, fine, whatever. I'm just sitting in anyways. And so that way I'm not always, down, 3 dB down, or whatever. I can just kind of adjust myself, get it hopefully set within the first 30 seconds. And then the front of house engineer can, okay, all right. Yeah.
Do you ever get that feeling like you don't want to be that guy either? Like whenever I'm playing shows, like I don't want to be the guy that's just pestering the engineers and being like needy. Like I just want to be the guy. I just want to be playing and like the cool. All right, the guitar player is easy to work with. Like he's low maintenance. Like yeah, man, I'm good.
Totally, and also that's what's going to make the best experience for the audience as well. So the audience doesn't want, for the band to say, guys, just wait. I have a really special guest coming out tonight to play guitar. You're going to love him, Cory Wong. I get up, play record. This.
Yeah, right. Come on. Yeah.
No, come out, perform the thing. All right, I'm playing. I'm too loud. Turn myself down a little. I might even just do it on my guitar.
Yeah.
Or I need to turn up. All right, I'm going to go down my pedal board and boost my compressor out a little bit or whatever. And then front house can turn me down. I just need to make sure in the moment, the audience, the performance of it is what the expectation is set up to be, and that I can just vibe with the band. And then if I'm feeling good, feeling like I'm laying in the cut, people are going to kind of adjust, and hopefully it's just within the first 30 seconds, it'll get figured out. But yeah, you don't want to go up there and be the high maintenance. Give me 5 minutes to just get my levels right before this song starts. No. Nobody wants that. Except for maybe the front of house engineer, maybe the monitor engineer. But even then, it's going to be awkward. So nobody wants it.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, I was just going to say, so you kind of led on. Did you learn how to mix at church as well? Is that where you got your mixing skills?
I mixed from basically when I was in middle school, I had a little punk rock band.
Yeah.
And I wanted to record my band. So I begged my dad, saved up a bunch of money, said, Dad, will you help me? I need like an extra $100.
I've heard this story before.
Yeah, I need an extra $100.
That's my little brother.
That's the finish line. Like, I shoveled 100 driveways this month. So I'm in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
I shoveled 100 of our neighbors' driveways. I've done everything I can to earn some money as a 12-year-old. There's this Boss BR8 recorder, zip drive recorder. I really want it. It's used. It's good. I want to record my band. So I got this thing. Didn't know what I was doing. I didn't take any classes. I didn't read any books. It was just the manual. Oh, reverb. What's reverb? Oh, cool. What's chorus? Oh, cool. And then, all these other things. So I had 3 microphones and there was a bass guitarist. He actually, we mic'd we put a mic. No, we faced our amps together is the first thing we did. My guitar amp and the bass amp. And we just put a mic in between those. It was some Radio Shack mic. We just put it on the floor in between the guitar amp and the bass amp. Then we put a mic just kind of in front of the drums and a mic in front of me singing. And that was our 3 inputs. It's like, oh, well, the drums actually sound better if you put it up here. But what if we record the vocal last? Like we can do the guitar and bass separate, and then we put the drum mic up here, and then that actually sounds better. And, and then it's, oh, well, we need some more low end. And then it's just kind of figuring out. So as an 8th grader, I was kind of getting my producing and mixing and engineering chops a little bit just out of experimentation and not knowing what we're doing. And then when I was in college, I took some classes in audio engineering and in producing or whatever. And
making sick beats.
Yeah. But also, this is, you're never going to find these albums. And I would never, it's not even worth trying to search and you won't find them. But I did about 40, 50 albums where I produced under these different pseudonyms. I just got work for hire, whether it be like Borders bookstores or some of these like end cap music things. These different companies that just make music for like around St. Patrick's Day music, and it's just like at the checkout line and they put it up for sale.
Yeah, the Impulse buy CDs.
Yeah. Exactly. Impulse, end cap, meditative guitar, right? I got hired to do a bunch of these. I didn't get paid a lot of money, and they got what they paid for. I was in college and trying to figure out how to do this, and it was just me and my little Apogee into my laptop and figuring out, okay, this is how to record this, and it sounds bad when it goes to the red, and why are my recordings all quieter than everybody else's? Oh, the master bus. And then it was just reading things and just experimenting. So within these 40 albums I made and some people around the college that could kind of help me, and online forums and YouTube videos and buying a bunch of books, I bought the Bobby Owsinski. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
Mixing Engineer's Handbook, Mastering Engineer's Handbook. Reading all this kind of stuff to just experiment. But then in the end, it was all just trial and error. And then now eventually, doing it more and more. And then the thing that was a real game changer was when I started playing more bigger name sessions as a guitar player. I would kind of, not impose, but just kind of look over the shoulder of the producer and the engineer. Oh, okay. I see what you do. Ooh, all right. Yeah. Taking notes, paying attention, and also showing interest. And, there was a handful of like John Fields really kind of took me under his wing for a while, who produced so many hit records and mixed a bunch of great things. So I've learned a lot from him, and working with really great producers, you start to recognize the things they're paying attention to. Oh, I should be paying attention to that. And then stuff just starts to fall in line. So long story. No, I didn't learn to mix in church, to answer your question.
then what was the name of the punk rock band?
Well, my first band, it was called 250, and then we were called Couch Potato. Great.
Reputable.
Come on. Great. Punk rock band. Couch Potato?
It's good.
I think I was like in a band called the Toxic Waffles in high school for like 6 days. I think there's one of those.
Waffles.
Yeah.
I was in
I
a
was in
Public
Dirt
Enemy
Coast,
cover
so
band.
we've all got our,
Hold on, did you say you were in a Public Enemy cover band?
Yeah, it was called Fire Honky.
Wow.
It was good. It was fun.
Actually, I had a non-existent band. I knew I wanted to be in a band when I was in 4th grade, but none of my friends and I played instruments. So we just created a fake band called Spaceship to Nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an actual band, but it felt like an awesome band name as 4th graders. Made album artwork.
Everything but the actual music, right?
Yeah.
T-shirts.
You could totally write a song to that now. I mean, that should be on your next album. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm calling it now. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious. Part of what you do isn't just the fact that you play the guitar, right? Like you're an arranger, you're a composer. I mean, you're correct me if I'm wrong, but you're writing. If anyone hasn't seen your work, I mean, it's big band, it's horns, there's funk, there's keyboards, bass, all this stuff. You're arranging all this stuff. I have to imagine that part of that element of bringing that together enables you or empowers you to become a better mix engineer because you're already hearing all this in your head to arrange it, and so now you just need to to capture it. Does that make sense?
Totally. And mixing it, if you're impatient, like I used to be, and like I sometimes still am, you try to get there, and it's like it's almost there. And sometimes you can just get complacent, and it's fine. But then you send it off to your inner circle, like, seriously? Like, it's not a horns album. Why are the brass 10 dB above everything else? And I think, oh yeah, I guess you're right, they are. We get tunnel visioned, or we just start like this thing's really cool. So then you turn it up. We're like, yeah, I played bass on this track, and everybody who listens is like, obviously you're the one who played bass and mixed it. It's clear the bass player is the one who mixed this track. So there's a certain self-awareness, there's a certain level of experience, and then just for me, because I don't consider myself the greatest mix engineer, but I'll work really, really hard and long to get it right, or to where it represents what I'm hearing in my head, like you're saying. And yeah, part of what I'm hearing in my head, I know I can get it there or really close, and then I just need some other outside opinion. Like I just need halfway between objective and subjective opinions, because sometimes as an artist, arranger, as the guitar player or the bass player, or even just the person mixing, I feel really good about the way I got the snare sounding on this one. I just need somebody else's opinion. Like, yeah, the snare sounds good, but it's too loud. Oh, okay, cool. I'll turn it down. And that sort of thing really helps. So yes, as an arranger, as somebody who writes the music, there are certain things that I have in mind that are the focal point, where sometimes, if I've had people mix music of mine where I've had the thing pretty much set, and I had my rough producer's mix, and I send it off to a mixing engineer, and they open the session, zero everything out, which can be fine, whatever, but they didn't listen to the reference mix, and then all of a sudden it's, all the keyboards are the things that are way up front instead of the guitars, and they didn't really realize that the guitar, because if it's my album, the guitar is kind of one of the centerpieces of the thing. And then the vision is kind of, it sounds good, but it's just different because you need to do this to this, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think for me, when I mix my own stuff, I already come in knowing the intention of some of those things, or being the producer. It doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't mix it better. Plenty of people could mix it better than me, but I don't know. Sometimes it's fun. It's a nice challenge for me to do it myself. Also, it saves me a lot of money. But it would be, I don't know. It definitely helps. Like, and sometimes I just have the time to do it, and I want to gain that experience. Like with the Meditations album, the one that got nominated for the Grammy. First off, Russell Elevato engineered that just flawlessly. So I open up Pro Tools and it sounds really good, and it sounds really natural. So when I mixed that album, it was more artistic choices. How do I shape the sonic palette of this journey to go, with certain automation things or reverb things, in a musical way, but just enhance what's there. So when I was mixing it, we recorded it and didn't know when we were going to put it out or what kind of thing we were going to do. But after a tour got canceled, I just had a bunch of time one month. And I don't know. I've got the second half of March to do kind of whatever. I'll mix this album that we recorded and see what happens. And, I mixed the album and here we are. So sometimes I mix my own stuff just because I want to get the experience and keep getting better at it. Because to me, it is kind of fun. It's a different creative outlet than playing.
So it was so funny when I had texted these guys a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, I invited Cory Wong to come on the show. And Chris texted me back and said, the guitar player? Because we usually have, audio engineers on the show.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but I said, just go poke around a little bit. And then I think like every 2 or 3 days for the next, up until yesterday, he would send a YouTube video, be like, yo, this is awesome. And then like then I could tell he was going out and he'd find something else and he'd be like, yo, this is awesome. So it was fun to see. I mean, it's such a multifaceted body of work that you have. It's really interesting. Something that's important for us on the show, we have a lot of listeners who are, sort of starting their careers in audio. They might be college students or
Sure.
You've been very, very forthright with sort of saying, hey, here's how I got my start and here's how I started getting on call lists for studio sessions and sharing your knowledge with people. And that's a big part of our philosophy on the show. So I definitely want to encourage anyone who's listening to swing by Cory's YouTube channel and check out what he's talking about on those subjects. But what I really want to talk about is Live in Amsterdam, because what a cool project, man.
Wow. Sounds so good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that must have been just a blast to work on.
That was insane. That was so much fun. And that was, for obvious reasons, the hardest album that I ever mixed.
No doubt.
Because it's 60 musicians. So the fortunate thing is I couldn't believe this. So going into this, I wasn't sure what the monitoring situation was going to be, what the mic situation was going to be. Oh, we're just going to put a Decca tree above the strings or whatever. They close mic'd every string play.
Yeah.
They close mic'd every instrument. Everybody's on ears. So there was so much isolation that made it really easy. Their engineers are incredible. This guy Dirk, who's like their main engineer, he made it really easy for me, as easy as he could. I guess I'll put it that way. But yeah, that one was super fun because it was so much music and there's so many different things happening. So my approach to that was, okay, let's approach it similar to the way a conductor would, looking at the score, and just the same way that I would do with any other session, but by sections. So, okay, my rhythm section is one thing: drums, bass, keyboards, guitar, auxiliary percussion. Those are all kind of rhythm section, the way that they functioned. And then there was all the other things that functioned either as melodic or padding or textural sounds, where it's woodwinds. I separated the woodwinds by kind of the softer woodwinds, flute, clarinet sort of thing, and then bass clarinet, and then the saxophones in their own thing. And then there was woodwinds 1 all going into one bus, woodwinds 2 into a bus, and then those two going into just a full-on woodwinds bus. And then there was a brass bus with the trumpets and then the like high brass and low brass. So trumpets and then trombone, French horn, that sort of thing. And then there was a strings bus that was violin 1s, violin 2s, violas, cellos, and the double bass. That because they all function together. Normally they would weave together. So then it's okay, if I organize them all together, make them sound good together, and then make all the buses sound good together, and understand how each of those roles work, it really helped me. But it was a lot of work. Then
Did you write the charts for that?
I did, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so that helped me a lot too. So when I was mixing, I was looking on with the score and recognizing, oh wait, am I not catching? Oh, I need to bump this up. This isn't kind of. So that really did help. The fact that I can.
Did it take forever? Yeah, I mean,
did.
That is incredible. Like, way to go, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, listening to it is amazing, but knowing that you did the charts for that as well, wow.
Well, I didn't do all the arrangements for it. I was involved with the arranging, but a lot of the Metropole Orchestra has a bunch of their arrangers.
Right.
I worked with them on their arranging and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I was on tour. I did a U.S. tour, like a Midwest East Coast tour in January, and pretty much every day between sound check and the gig, I was going through and editing and mixing. I mean, there wasn't a lot of editing, but it was mixing, finding all the little details every day. And honestly, the majority of that record I was mixing just from my iPhone headphones. And then when I got off tour, it was like, all right, get on my setup. All right, does this work? What's changing here or there? And yeah, so it was a lot of time. It was a lot of time, but it was fun. It was really fun.
That's an important lesson for people listening or watching, at home. Like, so a majority of that album, or live DVD or whatever. Do we still have DVDs?
I have a lot of DVDs. Thank you very much.
was again, you don't need some of the best equipment to get in and start messing with these things and working on things. So I think it's pretty cool. So you have an exciting series coming out, and.
That was the most recent text where he was like, "This is cool." Like,
yeah.
and long notes, that one.
Yes, it's like, and you can probably do a better job. I'm probably gonna butcher this, but like it's a late night show, variety style show, or whatever. And the energy, first off, the energy you have on any of your live shows seems amazing, and I can't wait to actually see you live. But it looks to be, in my opinion, there's been a lot of content that's come out in the last year in terms of virtual concerts and virtual stuff. Of all the things I've seen, I'm most excited to wait for this to come out, right? Because it looks like the most engaging, short of being at a venue and being a part involved. It seems like you do that. So, but the biggest thing that I notice is, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of what you're doing and playing, is only the baseline of what's happening around you in terms of what you're creating and in terms of musical engagement, right? Like, and in fact, I was having a conversation with a guy at work, and I was like, hey, because I'm not a guitar player,
sure,
and so listening to some of your work, it's like, okay, a lot of you obviously have a certain style, the way you play, and I don't know how it's described, but like the way you strum it's a very very similar way you strum throughout a lot of your songs, right?
Sure.
And for me as a non-guitar player, and it might come out sounds wrong. Not that it becomes repetitive or old, but it's like, okay, that doesn't draw me as much. What draws me personally is honestly what's actually happening around you.
Sure.
And what this guy pointed out to me is like, well, that's actually the beauty of what Cory is doing, in that, like, he's not there to be this showman lead person the entire time. You're there to bring out all these elements and bring that as an experience.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And what kind of work goes into creating your music and creating that live show? That was a
100%.
long-winded thing there, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That makes total sense. And, I'm like consummate rhythm player. And part of my thing is I'm like a lead rhythm player, right? So a lot of my rhythm parts can be lead parts. And that's kind of one of the riddles that I've been trying to solve is how can I be the leader as a rhythm guitar player? And it's a fun thing to try to figure out. But also, your friend is not wrong at all in that so much of what I try to showcase in my music is beyond just, I guess, what most of us, or what many people have thought of when they think of guitar album is, all right, it's just going to be a bunch of guitar in your face, shredding all the, and that's fun. I like that. But for me personally, even as a guitar player, I kind of have enough after about 15 minutes of that. So, or 20 minutes, I don't know. It depends on the day. Or maybe even 2 minutes. But for me, I just feel like what I bring to the table, what's compelling about, okay, sure, I could shred for an hour and people would like it and they'd enjoy it and it'd be a good time. But for me, what feels most compelling about what I do is not necessarily that side of things. What feels most magnetic about me, and I think this is important for any person to try to figure out, is what is it that's magnetic or sticky about what you do that is different, because there's so many amazing guitar players. There's thousands of incredible guitar players out there. What is it that makes each of us unique? So for me, the thing that's most sticky and magnetic is beyond just guitar gymnastics. Sure, I can do the guitar gymnastics Let's go to the Olympics. I'm there for the, relay or whatever. But beyond that, what's fun is bringing all these other elements, showcasing myself as a writer, arranger, producer. Of course, I work with other great arrangers and things as well, but just how I arrange a band and a show and arrange everything that goes with it, how the rhythm section flows with the horn section, and how those things lock or weave or connect or don't connect and then come together. Some of that stuff is just as fun to me to do as showing off what I can do on the guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if that's what you leave with, fine. But for me, I have a much bigger vision than, like, I always say this is, if you leave my show thinking that Cory's great at guitar, okay, cool. But the thing that I really want you to do after you leave my show is, wow, that was really fun. There was something really joyful about that. I feel joy. And that to me has been a guiding light. And if you happen to love what I do on guitar beyond that, cool. But the main thing I want is for you to have fun and have a sense of joy. So it's not about me as a guitar player, which a lot of people, that's why they do what they do. They want you to see how great they are at guitar. And that's cool. There's a place for that. That's not necessarily me, and that's okay for them, and it's okay for me. So
yeah, Cory, when I was first sort of getting into your catalog, what really struck me was the title of your album, Motivational Music for the Syncopated Soul.
Yeah.
And like that title just really stood out to me, and I was just like, the syncopated soul. Okay, I get it. Like, it was just like, you're a percussive rhythmic player. Yeah. It's about the whole vibe. Like, you're obviously the lead guitar player in the stuff you're doing, but it's not a lead guitar record.
Sure.
Necessarily. And I just thought that, for me, that really just struck a chord. No pun intended. But like, I really got into it from that aspect of, okay, like you're driving the listener to pay attention to the group, to the arrangement, whatever it is that you're going for. It's not necessarily the Cory Wong show,
Sure.
Even though it is, I mean, it is, but like, in all the best ways possible, I think you've really found a interesting way to highlight the musicians that you bring along with you. And really give space for everyone to have their moment and really do what they're good at. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I really appreciate that. That's definitely part of the thing. And then with this show, Cory and the Wong Notes, it's this fun 11-piece band that I have these incredible musicians around me. Why wouldn't I showcase what they can do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pass the ball around, it's like we're playing catch. Everybody's getting their turn,
Yeah. In a way, I think it's a little bit of a microcosm of what we do as audio engineers, where an audio engineer will listen to a mix and go, wow, that snare sounds really nice, or the toms sound really nice, whereas a person who's a non-musician, a non-audio engineer, they just know, like, I like this, or I don't like this, or it's fun to listen to, you know what I mean? So, I think letting people in on it, basically, it becomes accessible, right? I mean, sure. We can, as musicians, listen to a Guitar Virtuoso record and say, wow, it's really incredible what he's doing. I've never heard sweep picking that fast or whatever, but but it's musicians' music. And so I think by bringing the audience into it, it's not, you're not talking down to people with what you're doing. People, it was funny because I just got a new TV and it has that the Chromecast thing. So if I'm watching a YouTube video and I like it, I'll hit the button and it comes out on the living room, and my girlfriend will be out there. And so she just has to endure whatever I think is, interesting that day. But when I put on one of your things the other day, and she actually left it on, and she's not a musician. And so I think, your approach is a lot like what we do as mix engineers, where it's not all about listen to my cool vintage reverb that I'm doing. Like, there's stuff that we do that's cool to us, but at the end of the day, the average concert goer, the average consumer of this music, they need to enjoy themselves. They need to have a good time. They need to just have a good experience with that. And so I think the engineering workflow and your mind kind of shows through all the steps of that process, whether it's your arranging, your playing, your mixing. It's very interesting, the whole thing.
In a lot of ways, the audience doesn't care about that vintage reverb.
Sure.
Or whatever. They're there for the product. They're there for the experience. So like, as mix engineers, that's something that we're, acutely aware of is we're delivering an experience, and it goes, the same when you're, you're driving a 11-piece band, you know?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes as engineers, the thing that's nice is that you can put some objective things to subjective statements. So I was just listening to a Madison Cunningham album, and I was thinking, this just sounds so cool. What is it about it that sounds so cool right now? And it will sound cool. Like Blake Mills albums, there's like certain things that come out of certain areas that just sound really cool to me right now. What are some objective things about this? Like musically, arrangement-wise, instrument-wise, and audio-wise, what is it that sounds, how can I pinpoint what sounds cool about this? And it can be, oh yeah, it's this certain Gibson Falcon amp, or, you know, the way that this API console sounds mixed with this thing or whatever. Like, oh, it's these, you know, like this is a spring reverb just cranked through an 1176 or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is. But there are certain things as audio engineers that you guys are going to be able to say, ooh, this is a really cool thing to do. And we might, as audio people, enjoy like, ooh, this is cool to do because we're using this thing. But to the average listener, like you're saying, sometimes it's just gonna sound cool, and they don't. But it will. You guys will you'll get to the same result. Right. You'll be stoked about it. It's like, oh man, that sounds awesome. But you might be excited about different things, or you might get to that final conclusion through a different route or whatever. So I think, in the end, if you are thinking about, like you're saying, sometimes you just need to think about what the listener thinks. If you're at the, you know, if you're mixing a Fall Out Boy show, people are there to see that show. Or if you're mixing, you know, a certain album, people are going to expect a certain thing from that, and you can bring whatever thing you want, but it needs to also get the audience to the same end.
I'm curious if you, given you have so much going on stage, both just what you have to play, both with what you have arranged and staying in tune with them, what is your headspace like during a show? If you had to describe what's going on in there.
Most of the time I come pretty prepared, well, very prepared. So I'm not nervous about, do I remember what's going to happen? Most of the time, I'm reading the energy of the room, what people are responding to, and reading the energy of the band. And as somebody who's in the case of a Cory Wong show, I'm the band. It's different. So I'll give you, I guess, a couple different answers. When Cory Wong, if I'm the band leader, I am charging the energy of the thing, and I need to be the front. If something's starting to, the rhythm section's kind of or like the horn section's dragging tonight. How can I kind of help tie this together? Or is there a certain energy that we can do to neutralize all of this? I need to be aware of those things. And I'm very, very acutely aware of how the band is feeling subdivision, how the band is feeling creatively, and how the audience is responding to those things. So sometimes keyboard player Kevin's having a hot night. Ooh, let's keep passing the ball to him. Or, you know, Pitar's having a great night. I'm going to pass the ball to him a little bit more. Or, you know, the audience is really connecting with this thing or that more. So I'll kind of steer the ship a little bit one way or the other, because even so we build a set list, and it's not like we have a show that we just do the same show every tour. Some tours are like that for other artists. I kind of have some songs that I want to do because there's certain things that I've worked out, but then a lot of jumping points for exploration. And I'm just kind of, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what it's going through my mind all the time, that and just how to express what I want to express through the music, through my instrument, through the band, and through my, you know, the big picture and the joy to the audience. In Vulfpeck, it's a different thing. I'm part of the band, so my role is very different, and I'm following Jack, the band leader, much more. So I'm paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm feeling the energy of the crowd and feeling the energy of the band with each other, but I don't feel the same responsibility to carry it along. I'm looking to Jack for cues. I'm waiting because I trust him. What's his instinct on what we should do or where we should go? Okay, I'll help guide it this way. Or if he'll give me a certain look, I'll push something this way or pull it back this way. with Ben Rector, I'm playing a certain role in a different function. So I am aware of Ben is the leader. He's the focus of the thing pretty much at all times, unless he's like, all right, this is a guitar moment. Go make yourself known. And then I go up and do what I do. But I'm always aware of what the leader is doing and where they're kind of guiding things. Does it feel like he's struggling tonight? Well, let's go extra hard. Let's give him the energy that he needs. Maybe I'll even walk over there and like, give him some physical energy by just like, the presence sort of thing. Or maybe it's a musical thing. So I try to be aware of what my role and function is, either as a leader, a band member, or as a gun or whatever.
Yeah.
And then try to best suit whatever I can do. If I'm the leader, I got to serve that purpose and take everybody's input and guide them and the audience and usher the thing along. If I'm part of the band, I'm following the band leader and moving along with the band. If I'm a sideman, I'm always eyes to the leader or paying attention there, and then feeling my awareness of that role and that function to make sure that they're performing their absolute best, but also me delivering because like I said at the beginning, if I come prepared and I know what I'm doing, that way I can live in this other land where I'm paying attention. Notice how almost none of this has to do with, is this an A7 or an A?
That's what I was talking about at the beginning. It's, that stuff is muscle memory at that point, and it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm thinking back on shows that I've played where, the lead singer's been a little down or whatever, and doing the same thing. I never really had put, I never thought about it like that. I was, as a lead guitar player, going to go up to the lead singer and give him some physical energy. But I totally did that. I mean, that's, that makes a lot of sense. If the vibe is not where it needs to be, it's sort of, you're on stage. It's your, I consider a responsibility, to help move things where they need to go,
Yeah. And it's also your responsibility to understand, are they kind of a little more chill because that's what they want to do? Or are they chill? Are they trying to get the energy?
Right.
If they're trying to get the energy, help them get there. But if they're pulling it back because they're just not feeling it, the more you get in there, the more you get in and try to do it. No, I want to pull it back.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's reading that.
Yeah,
that can be difficult.
I think about one of my favorite guitar players, Robbie McIntosh. Played rhythm for Paul McCartney, right? And then goes later in his career, plays rhythm for John Mayer. So he's one of the best guitar players out there, but he's playing, support roles to these incredible musicians. And it's amazing the level of skill, and he's just in this pocket. And I think about, when I was at Berkeley, Victor Wooten came, and one of the things he said is, one of the most important things about music is knowing when not to play. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really one of your biggest strong suits as a player, and why I think your music's so accessible and why it's fun to listen to is because you do such a good job supporting, wherever the attention's supposed to be at the moment, which is something that is very, very important to us as live mix engineers. Where should the audience's attention be right now? It is a big thing, and you make it so much easier for the production people to do that, because it's really funny to watch the videos, the people that are in the front row and they're right in front of you at the Ben Rector show, and they're 3 feet from you, but they're looking at Ben. And then when they look at you, and then when they look back to Ben, like the passing the audience attention around, it's a really important thing, and it's something that maybe we don't pay as much attention as we should to when we're mixing a show, but it's definitely something to think about,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and if for me, I've noticed in certain shows, this is verse 2, and the people in front of me are looking right at me and paying attention to what I'm doing instead of the lead singer. Maybe I need to pull back. Whether it be something I'm playing or just physically the way I'm presenting myself, instead of being out here, maybe it's chilling here. Maybe I just need to be less engaging, because it actually, and I think that covers it. Whether it be musically or presence-wise, energy-wise, how much you're engaging from the audience, sometimes it actually takes away, and and that some people's greatest strong suit is how engaging they are, and it's just knowing when to harness that and knowing when to dial it back, I think is, yeah, it's a difficult thing. You're right. Like it sometimes is weird to think, oh yeah, the people that are 3 feet in front of me, right on the other side of the barricade, they should be looking at me. No. This isn't my, if I'm playing guitar and the verse is being sung center stage and I'm stage left or whatever, they should be looking there. They should be watching that. And maybe every once in a while they're looking around at the other stuff. But in general, if you kind of see the school of fish go this way and then go this way and then go that way, that's how it should be. You're absolutely right. And the band can project that, and lighting cues can help guide that along. And there's a bunch of production things that can help guide that along. But the best thing is if the band just inherently has that in their arranging and in the way that they present that on stage, because it makes it easier for the mix engineers, makes it easier for the entire production team to facilitate that shift.
So, customary question before we wrap up here. Every one of our guests has gone through this gauntlet, and you're no exception, Cory. If we're coming to town, we're coming to visit, and we say, hey, take us someplace really awesome for some really awesome food. What's your go-to? What's your favorite food? Favorite place to take people?
Okay, we're in Minneapolis here to establish that. It depends, and in a world where we go out. If you want to go out for... I'm gonna give several answers. If you want to go to nice Indian food, I'm gonna say Gorkha Palace or Namaste, India. Two different sides of town. If you want to go out for a really nice meal, there's a place called Spoon and Stable that I love. And they also have a really great brunch, Sunday brunch. Great. They have this pastry chef. She did this insane thing in France. She's insane. You want to go for a nice, if it's a vegan vegetarian, there's a place called Seed Cafe. It's incredible. My favorite place in town to go. And if we're going for coffee, we're going to go to either Spy House or 5 Watt. Or if you're a real coffee snob, you're like, I want the little lower. There's a place called Wesley Andrews. So I'm going to kind of feel out your vibe on whether you want like cool coffee shop or if you want the place it's a little more low key, like, oh yeah, we're the baddest, but not everybody knows. Sort of thing. Yeah. That's the food answers, I guess.
There you go. And I'm sure we'll get some interesting emails, and we usually get some responses from our listeners in that area who will be familiar with those places, and they're gonna agree or disagree, and they'll be really interesting. Cory, thank you.
Mike, I got one more question.
Oh, Chris has got a question. Okay, Chris, go ahead.
So Cory, you've increased your online presence significantly in the past few years.
Yeah.
I think that it's safe to say that you probably your audience has just gotten so much bigger. So now that you're talking about where you go out in Minneapolis, are you getting recognized more? Or are you still able to fly under the radar at home?
No, I definitely get recognized a lot more, but I don't know. In Minnesota, people don't really care. Also, they might recognize me, but they don't give a crap. Oh, you're that guy from the internet. But also, I don't know. But I think most people around Minneapolis that recognize me know that I'm from Minneapolis, so it's not a real surprise.
Right. No shit, yeah.
Well, speaking of getting that audience and known, your answer might be a little bit different than others, given that you already have some of this going on. But something I've been asking everyone this year is if you could define what you want your legacy to be, what would that be?
Heavy hitting question there.
I think it's similar to what I was saying about the live shows, where it's an entire package of things beyond just guitar playing and whatever that just brings joy to people. And to me, that is a very long lasting ideal and legacy that can it's not a principle, but something that can live on much longer than just
sustainable.
Yeah. And it's something that we all want. We all want to live. I mean, because there's a difference between being happy and being joyful, enjoying something.
Mm-hmm.
They're different things. So a real sense of joy can come from different places. But if I can help usher that, if people turn on my music or my videos or projects that I've been a part of, and it kind of gives that sparkle or whatever, that kind of dust on their day, then great. That's to me the most important thing.
Awesome.
Corey, thank you so much for your time, man.
Can finish arpeggios faster. Wouldn't that be awesome if that was actually my answer? Like, man, I want people to know how fast I can shred diminished scales.
And you're like, Yngwie, Alex Skolnick, I'm coming for you, bro.
Now, Yngwie's harmonic minor, dude. Yngwie's got harmonic minor on lock.
Oof.
I can't mess with that. Nobody can.
Thank you so much, man. It was really cool
thank
having
you,
you
Corey.
on.
It was great.
Oh, thank you guys. Love what you're doing. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, super fun. I'm excited.